The story begins with a high school student named Tommy Riley. For some reason, he is forced to move and start a new life with his father. However, his new home is in a rough neighborhood where gangs roam freely.
Who said you could shoot? It's a black game, home. Y'all don't want your whiteness shoving through my hoops. Punk ass, keep walking.
On Tommy's first day at his new school, a group of local teenagers tries to harass him. Worse still, it turns out that the three bullies who harassed him earlier are in his same class. Since he is new, Tommy doesn't want to cause trouble. So, when the three bullies order him to change seats 3 times, he obeys. But the 4th time they tell him to move, he begins to lose his patience. This time, even though they demand he move, Tommy stays put, which makes the bullies angry. Just as a fight is about to break out, the teacher enters and orders everyone to sit down. Although the bullies threaten to settle things with Tommy during recess, he brushes it off.
I'll get you on the greasy side.
During the break, the bullies confront Tommy again, this time bringing their friends. But once again, Tommy is saved when another group of gang members interrupts the confrontation. Gang rivalry is a real problem at the school, and fights occur regularly, like today, when the leaders of 2 gangs face off one-on-one in front of the other students. One of them does not hesitate to pull out a blade during the fight. But before a winner is declared, the teachers appear and the duel is canceled. As if school weren't hard enough, Tommy has to deal with debt collectors when he gets home. In fact, the reason he and his father moved to this new place is because his father accumulated a massive gambling debt after Tommy's mother passed away. Now, because of his father's problems, Tommy has to face 2 collectors who show up at his house with weapons in hand. Luckily, they don't hurt him. They only threaten him, saying his father must pay the debt, which is 2 weeks overdue. Later that night, Tommy wakes up to his father's return. His father is kind to him and asks about his first day at the new school. At that moment, Tommy decides to lie, saying everything went well. But his father doesn't believe him. He senses Tommy is hiding something. Tommy has no choice but to tell him that 2 collectors came by that afternoon. Hearing this deeply upsets his father, who realizes he has made a mistake that has ruined their lives. He promises Tommy he will fix everything. He mentions he has found a high-paying job in another city, one that will allow him to clear the debt and improve their financial situation.
I'm awake now. I'm not drinking and I'm not gambling and...
On the other hand, Tommy doesn't mind living alone for a while. After all, he is old enough to take care of himself. To ease his father's burden, he takes a job washing dishes at a local restaurant run by the parents of a classmate. But one night, the school bullies show up at the restaurant. As soon as they see Tommy working there, they decide to pick up where they left off. At first, Tommy tries to endure their provocations. But when they knock him to the ground and mock him with stupid smiles, he can't take it anymore. He immediately gets up and hits 2 of them. Just as he is about to face the 3rd, an old man he has never seen before intervenes and stops the fight. It turns out this old man is Jack, a local boxing promoter. He claims he likes Tommy's fighting style and offers him the chance to compete in an illegal underground boxing match. Jack is willing to pay him $600, but Tommy refuses immediately. Tommy asks for $1,050 for his fight. If Jack isn't willing to pay, he can look for someone who will accept less. After tough negotiations, Jack finally accepts his terms. They shake hands in front of the restaurant owner's daughter, Dawn. The following night, Tommy visits the underground fight venue where Jack introduces him to Noah. Noah will train Tommy and take care of all his needs. Noah's first piece of advice is that the fight he is about to enter is like a war. Furthermore, Tommy will face Black Death, a fighter famous for playing dirty. Surprisingly, Tommy runs into his classmate Romano, who is shocked to learn that Tommy has to fight Black Death in his first match. Romano advises Tommy to watch out for Black Death's right hand while fighting. Taking Romano's advice seriously, Tommy enters the ring. The entire crowd bets on Black Death's victory and erupts in cheers as he enters the arena. Noah was not wrong. From the moment the fight begins, Black Death plays dirty. He throws elbows at Tommy, making his temple bleed. He doesn't stop there as Black Death delivers a full-force punch to Tommy's groin area. Despite the dirty tactics, the referee ignores everything. After all, in this ring, anything goes. But after a while, Black Death begins to tire, giving Tommy the chance to launch a series of attacks that finally knock him down. Tommy wins the fight, leaving the crowd, the gamblers, and the investors in disbelief at what they have just witnessed. When Tommy raises his hand in victory, the crowd roars in celebration. The next day, Tommy is called to meet Jack's boss, Mr. Horn, to collect his payment. However, it is clear that Mr. Horn liked Tommy's performance from the night before, so he invites him to return and fight for him again. Tommy rejects the offer.
I appreciate the offer, Mr. Horn, but I'm not interested.
Stating he only wants the $1,150, nothing more and nothing less.
Get him.
One day, Tommy crosses paths with Dawn, who cannot hide her disappointment upon learning that Tommy has chosen to be an underground fighter. However, upon learning that he has only fought once, she finally breathes a sigh of relief. Tommy has no interest in becoming a full-time fighter, but everything changes when Jack asks Tommy to meet with Horn again that afternoon. After some small talk, Horn reveals the truth. Those two debt collectors who visited Tommy's house work for him. Worse still, Tommy's father has gone back to gambling and the debt has increased to $15,000. But Horn has a solution, a way to pay off the debt easily. All Tommy has to do is fight for him in a few more matches. As expected, Tommy accepts the offer to settle his father's debt. On his way home from Horn's place, Tommy accidentally witnesses his classmate Lincoln being ambushed by a group of gang members. Determined to help, Tommy joins the fight, but the two are quickly outnumbered and forced to flee from the pursuing gang members. After managing to escape, Tommy and Lincoln talk, and Lincoln reveals that despite his young age, he already has a wife and a son. That's why, like Tommy, Lincoln chooses to earn money by becoming an underground boxer to support his family. Later that night, Tommy decides to watch Lincoln's fight. His new friend appears to be being dominated by his opponent, who is much larger. But in the end, Lincoln manages to turn the tables quickly and win the match. By this time, Tommy can no longer suppress his curiosity about Horn. So, after Lincoln's match, Tommy goes to Noah's house to ask about Horn's past. It turns out, Horn is a former boxer who even won the World Heavyweight Championship. What's more impressive is that he only lost once in his entire boxing career. After that loss, he took immediate revenge in a rematch, causing his opponent a lifelong injury. But in the end, even this incredible boxer had to retire after suffering a serious leg injury. Despite undergoing multiple surgeries, by the time his leg healed, his best years had passed. He was already too old to return to the ring, so he decided to become a boxing promoter, a job that brings him a lot of money without the risk of injury. Several days pass since Dawn last visited Tommy while he was training. She is worried because he hasn't shown up at school lately. Tommy finally opens up about the family problems that have been haunting him and how they forced him back into the illegal boxing ring. Fortunately, Dawn understands his situation, and they become even closer. Life seems better than ever after Tommy becomes an underground fighter. Dawn is always by his side at his events, and they begin a romantic relationship. Additionally, he develops a close friendship with Romano and Lincoln, with whom he practices and hangs out every day. However, tragedy strikes during a fight involving Romano. That night, Romano faces an opponent named Shortcut, who is clearly not as skilled as he is. Romano dominates the fight from the start, but when the match reaches the 5th round, Shortcut secretly pours a mysterious liquid onto his gloves. When the fight resumes, Shortcut catches Romano in a chokehold, forcing him to inhale whatever is on the gloves. As soon as Shortcut releases his grip, Romano's vision blurs and he can no longer fight properly. Shortcut takes full advantage of this, brutally beating him. Even as Romano bleeds, Shortcut shows no sign of stopping, as if he enjoys the process of torturing his opponent. Tommy witnesses the horror unfolding in the ring and can't take it anymore. Since the referee shows no intention of stopping the fight, Tommy runs to the bell and rings it himself, forcing the match to end. But by then, Romano has already collapsed unconscious in the corner of the ring. When Tommy returns home, he receives a call from his father, who sounds strangely unconcerned, as if nothing had happened. His father only asks how Tommy is, and explains that he has to delay his return because he has some pending business to attend to. The next day, Tommy visits Romano in the hospital, but unfortunately his friend remains unconscious. The doctors declare him brain dead. Of course, Tommy cannot let the person responsible for Romano's condition go free. His chance for revenge finally comes when he faces Shortcut in the ring.
How's Romano? Is he dead yet? I mean, he dead, ain't he?
Once again, Shortcut tries to use his dirty tricks on Tommy, but this time they don't work. Tommy saw how Shortcut poured the liquid on his gloves in the fight against Romano. In fact, Tommy decides to fight dirty himself, hitting Shortcut in the groin and making him scream in pain. Then, Tommy unleashes a series of ruthless punches, showing no mercy. Tommy finally wins the fight in the first round. With Romano gone, Lincoln is Tommy's only close friend. But one day, something happens to Lincoln during training. His body suddenly weakens, and for some unknown reason, he collapses. It turns out he suffered a heavy blow to the head the previous week and is now showing symptoms of brain damage. That's why the doctors tell him he needs to rest for at least 60 days. Otherwise, he risks permanent brain damage. But Horn has other plans for Lincoln. Later that night, Tommy is confused to see that the opponent he is supposed to fight is in a match with another boxer. So he goes to see Horn to ask what is going on. It is then that Horn reveals his plan. He wants Tommy to fight Lincoln, and Lincoln has accepted.
I'm not fighting Lincoln.
You're gonna fight Lincoln and you're gonna beat him, and I'm gonna make a lot of money.
Of course, this infuriates Tommy with Lincoln. Given Lincoln's condition, he shouldn't be fighting, and most importantly, Tommy is afraid of losing another friend. But no matter what he says, Lincoln is determined to go ahead with the fight. After all, this is his big chance to prove his worth to Horn, who has promised to promote him to the professional level if he wins.
I got no choice, Ghost. This is my ticket.
Tommy realizes he can't change Lincoln's mind, so he tries to persuade Horn to cancel the fight. But his efforts are in vain. Days pass until finally the fight between Tommy and Lincoln arrives. It is billed as the biggest match on the underground boxing circuit, and naturally, Dawn is there to see her boyfriend fight. However, Tommy is not excited about the match, which contrasts sharply with Lincoln's aggressive attitude. Sure enough, as soon as the bell rings for the first round, Lincoln launches an all-out attack on Tommy. Meanwhile, Tommy remains passive. He doesn't hit back even when Lincoln knocks him down. His behavior infuriates Lincoln. If the fight continues this way, Horn won't pay them, and Horn doesn't like boring fights. The audience feels the same. During the break after the second round, Horn grabs Dawn and threatens Tommy, saying that if he doesn't start fighting seriously, he can do whatever he wants with her. But for whatever reason, Tommy refuses to hit Lincoln. A single punch to Lincoln's head could be fatal. In the end, to satisfy Horn and the crowd, Tommy throws a single punch at Lincoln. Then, he tries to convince Lincoln to stop the senseless fight, arguing that even if one of them dies, Horn won't care. He only cares about the money. Horn wants us to kill each other. For what? So he can get rich? But Lincoln responds to all his words by hitting him in the head. At that point, Tommy stops trying to persuade Lincoln. If Lincoln is so desperate for Horn's money, Tommy is willing to go all out against him. But to Tommy's surprise, Lincoln finally realizes the truth in his words. This isn't right. They shouldn't be fighting each other. Therefore, Lincoln chooses to stop the fight without finishing it, much to the disappointment of the audience. Horn is frustrated, but above all, furious. He storms into the ring and tells Lincoln to finish the fight. However, Lincoln refuses. He declares that from now on, he will no longer care about Horn. This decision seems to push Horn over the edge. Without a word, he punches Lincoln in the head, sending him out of the ring. By then, Tommy has seen enough. He realizes Horn has gone too far. It's time to teach him a lesson, to show him how despicable his actions have been. For this reason, Tommy enters the ring and challenges Horn to a duel. If Tommy wins, Horn will have to settle his father's debt. But if Horn wins, Tommy will work for him forever. Horn accepts the terms, but adds one condition. They will fight without gloves. As a former boxing champion, Horn has a lot of experience, which gives him the edge. This is clear from how he mocks and humiliates Tommy in the early stages of the fight. But Horn's arrogance becomes his downfall. Tommy may be young, but he is smart. He quickly learns to counter Horn's moves, using that knowledge to turn the tables. First, Tommy deliberately lets Horn hit his head, resulting in one of Horn's fingers breaking. Then, Tommy provokes Horn into getting angry, just as Horn had done to him at the beginning of the fight. Observing Horn's reactions, Tommy realizes that anger is his weakness. But exploiting that alone isn't enough to win. So Tommy pretends to have broken his right arm, catching Horn off guard. At the perfect moment, Tommy delivers a powerful punch to Horn's face, followed by 13 more hits. knocking him out for good. With Horn's defeat, Tommy and his father are finally free of their debt. The film ends with Tommy celebrating his victory alongside Lincoln and Dawn.